I know. I'm going to just call witness to there are questions in the Q&A tab. We may not get to them today, but we will certainly get to them in a subsequent version because we do need to get to my good colleague and friend, Lindsey Larrabee, who's now going to jump into and actually connects with, I think, a lot of what Peter and Allison were speaking to was it's not always like your history, it's how you can connect your qualities to actually create a dynamic story and resonance with the person you're in front of. And Lindsay has a lot of expertise, acumen, and study inside of behavioral, I'd say finance, but also interviewing and bias and all different kinds of things. So, Lindsay, welcome. I was going to say we saved the best for last, but it's hard to say that Allison and Peter didn't bring it, so the pressure's on.
Yeah. Thank you, David, and definitely great comments from Allison and Peter. A lot that really just leads right into the topics that I have to share with you today. So you might be asking yourself, who am I? Why am I here? In addition to what David mentioned with my area of expertise, I am a first generation in higher education. I come from a multi-ethnic background family. The only reason I went to college is because I got a first generation minority scholarship. So for me, pursuing education, the one thing that people couldn't take away from me was a big focus, and I took it maybe a little bit too far. I'm still getting degrees these days. But it's really powerful in this world where, especially in financial services, everything is commoditized. So when I went into financial services right out of college, I was one of 8 women on a desk between Denver and New York City, of 180 people. I was one of 12 minorities. And therefore, I had my work cut out for me because I had no coaching. I had no one in my family that could teach me, what it was like to be in the corporate world, particularly financial services. So I lacked guidance, and I had to navigate a world that I had no idea about on my own. However, somehow I figured it out. I took Allison's advice on getting some great mentors, following what worked for them. By 26, I was a VP. I was building out a new team at Oppenheimer Funds. By 28, I was a director, and I moved over to Bank of New York Mellon to build out a new team there. Since I've joined Templar on the communication expertise, but I went back to school again once more because I wanted to study what is it that separates those who don't have the roadmap and the support to help them navigate this, and what leads to that success, right? So I really dedicated the last 3 years of my research and education around this topic, becoming a financial behavior specialist. So I want to share some of that with you today. First and foremost, one of the big 3 things that really align with, again, what Allison and Peter said, is there is actually research behind the personality traits and the behaviors that lead to higher income and economic outcomes. Okay, so economic success. And I'm going to share 3 of 5 of them with you today. The first one is conscientiousness. All right, so this is simply being motivated, dependable, and acting with self-discipline. Seems very simple, right? But actually, if you focus on these things, it makes a big difference on where you go in life. The second one we call internal locus of control. Some of you may have heard of this versus external. An internal locus of control is simply the idea that what happens in your life is a direct result of the choices you make, your actions, and your behaviors, versus individuals with the external locus of control mindset who have a bit more of a victim mentality, thinking, well, they just got lucky, it's somebody else's fault, it all happened by chance, right? So this idea that you have control of where your life is and where it goes. And the third one out of the top 5 I'm going to share with you is just openness to new experiences. A lot of times my first job I went into and saying, well, I'm going to go for this particular role. And they said, well, we're not really feeling for that role. I said, okay, well, I'm only open to these other ones. So not always saying you're going to go for what you expect, but also being open to what comes to you. And that has direct correlation with higher incomes and job success. Conscientiousness has research shown direct correlation to job performance, academic success, higher income, and entrepreneurial intention and success. And the internal locus of control has a direct correlation to higher income, rate of employment and reemployment, and financial discipline, how you behave with your money. So these are just 3 of 5. And I want to point these out because they do align with the mindset that these 2 have been talking about all day. And if you can be aware of these 3 things, you're more likely to set yourself up for success. The second thing I want to do with you today is share with you probably what has been the most powerful tool, I think, to my success in life, to reaching goals and becoming everything and more than I hoped to ever be. And it's all about core values. And there's a reason companies, right, these big corporate firms, they all have core values. And with Allison's point, do your homework, definitely research the core values, okay? See if they align with yours. But what I find is when I was doing interview coaching, I'd ask people, okay, well, what are your core values? Very rarely did people have any clarity around their own personal core values. Well, if all these companies see it as so important, well, why wouldn't you? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through an exercise on how you can identify your core values and use them. Because here's the thing, guys, is what determines success is integrity to your core values, right? They provide criteria for your future decisions and guidelines for your behaviors. Now, I use my personal core values, I still have them on my wall, to decide what jobs I want to go for. If I was going to make a major career change, did it align with what meant most to me in life? Okay, so this is going to be interactive. I'm going to give you all a minute. If you would grab a pen and paper to do this exercise with me, it'll be a few minutes. I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay. If you have
Dawood, I'll just jump in. Like, I don't think we could have assembled a better panel for today. As
I'm blown
people
away. I'm like totally. It's just like this is like a Netflix series. Each one is better. It's just great. It's the whole thing's coming together. It's beautiful.
Love it.
And what I'll say, when you get to your core values, you might not get them all worked out today, but bring them up in your interview. I actually started including mine on my resume because Peter brought up a point. Bring up something that stands out. They're a great topic for conversation. But most importantly, you need to be very clear on how your top core values, by the way, 3 to 5 max, align directly with that role and what you bring to the table uniquely as an individual. What sets you apart? Okay, so here we go. First step in the exercise is what I want you to do is just list on that piece of paper as many core values as you can think of that are important to you in life. Maybe it's new experience. Maybe it's higher education. Maybe it's time with family. Maybe it's intimate connection, spirituality. Maybe it's creativity, self-expression. All the things you can think of, right? Just data dump, brain dump, as many as you can think of. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. I'll shut up for a bit here.
So just to clarify, Lindsey, this is any kind of qualities that you feel are core to you, core to your heart, like what sets you just uniquely as you. Like it's creativity, it could be expressiveness, it could be shyness sometimes. I mean, whatever those things are.
Anything that's important to you in your life, right? Some people value adventure, some people value learning, quality time with family, whatever it is, balance, all of these things. List as many as you can think of. I'll give you another minute to do that. By the way, you guys can refine this later. I'm just going to walk you through the steps. See some good ones popping up in the chat here. I like it.
Yeah, that's a good thing, guys. If you guys have some ideas or you have some things on your list, throw a couple things in the chat. Let's get this, get a little energy in there. This is what social media is all about, what Peter stressed earlier. So feel free to jump in.
Lyman saying commitment, integrity, courage, resilience. Allison, equality. I like it. Ayana, creativity, integrity, responsibility. Yes. Okay. Good. As many as you can think of. Okay. Now here's what we're going to do. Take your list and I want you to cut it in half and ultimately keep doing that until you can narrow down your top 3 to 5 personal core values. You never see more than that in any company. So your top 3 to 5, most important. So if you have 40, cut it in half to 20. Of that 20, cut it in half to 10. Once you get it down to 10, narrow down your top 3 to 5, most important to you in life. These are your guides, your compass.
And I would almost say, like, if you didn't write down 20, after this, when you go home or when you're at home beyond this, we're all home probably, do this exercise, because I didn't write down 20. I have about 5 here, and now I'm trying to limit 5 into 5. That doesn't quite work.
Yeah, Winnie has satisfaction, creativity, learning. I love it. Damien, curiosity, determination, empathy. That's a great one. Okay, Joyce, highly organized, love challenge, integrity, make a difference. Okay, some powerful ones. Ruth, analytical, professional, integrity. Okay. Once you have it down to your 3 to 5, what I want you guys to do is identify what do these mean to you. Okay. And you don't have to do that right now, but your next step when we get off this is identify, okay, Festus says integrity, empathy, respect. Okay. What does that look to you? What does integrity look like? What does respect look like in your life for you? What kind of behaviors? What kind of decisions? And the way I use mine, I'll tell you, I still have mine on my desk in front of me. And every major decision, I go back when I was making a major career change out of financial services and into coaching communication. I said, okay, how will this new role align with my core value of excellence and determination? What about new experience? That's a big thing for me. How about freedom and independence? I need to have that. And creativity, self-expression. It's big for me. If I don't have that, I'm not going to be happy in a career. And here's the thing, guys, if you're not happy and it doesn't align with your goals, you are much less likely to be successful. And that is why these values are so powerful. Okay. Again, I'm going to give you the last quote again of why this is so important. What determines success is integrity to your core values. Okay. They act as criteria for your future decisions and guidelines for your behaviors. And because I didn't have much support, not that my family didn't want to support me, but I'm the youngest of 6 of a blue collar family who immigrated here, they couldn't. Okay, so I needed to find a way to make sure I was making the best decisions for myself, to give myself guidance, to lead myself where I wanted to go. And by using my core values, I was able to do that. So that is the tool I have to give you today. I hope this is useful. And in your interviews, like I said, put it on your resume, bring it up, and be very clear how your core values, what makes you different, what you bring to the table, how it aligns with the exact roles and responsibilities they're offering, because that's how you're going to set yourself apart.
I feel like it's like mic drop. Like, sorry guys, time to go home. That was incredible, Lindsey. Lindsey, we did say maybe we'd do one example. Are you up for an example?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a particular core value we should speak to, or you want me to just choose from the list that you gave me?
No, I gave you my list. Which one would you like to hear most about as my interviewer, David?
I'm just gonna look at. I like creativity and self-expression. So let's frame this for everyone as you guys are all heading into the financial services platform in this context. And so, Lindsey, you've interviewed in financial services firms. You had an example at Oppenheimer. So maybe it's that first time that you were interviewing at Oppenheimer. And I'm looking at your resume and I say, well, like, why is creativity and self-expression, like, why is that valuable to me? Or tell me a little bit more about that, Lindsey.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad you noticed my values, David. What creativity and self-expression, what that means to you and the team and the firm is that in an industry that's so highly commoditized, so difficult.
And wait. I just want to highlight for everybody what Lindsey did there. And we talked about this in previous conversations. She said what that does for you and your team and your firm. It's not, hey, I'm this and this is who I am. This is who I am and what that means for you. Now we're talking benefits language. Go ahead, Lindsey.
What that means for you and the firm is that in an industry that's so highly commoditized, where it's increasingly difficult to stand out and get results, this means that I'm going to be able to bring to the table new ways of doing things, new ideas, innovation, a way that brings different thinking to the group that can hopefully open some new doors and get some real results and outcomes that perhaps haven't been achieved before. That's what it means to you.
I love it. And like, if you listen to the language, Dawood, Dawood, what did you hear in that? Because I just heard so many gems in terms of the language, the phrasing, the benefits. What stood out for you?
I just want to hire this person. I think we all talk about how in an interview you're trying to get past the question to who is this person? Like, who is it? You only have like 30 minutes, 15 minutes maybe to figure out who is this person I'm talking to. And we all know that the questions and, it's kind of just a way to get into it. And I think that what Lindsey has brought out here is the way values are the quickest way to figure out who is this person. Like I have, for me, I use humility, excellence. If you ask me what are my values, I'll say humility, excellence, and respect. And I'll very quickly say, I don't always live up to all of those things, but that's what I aspire to. Those are the 3 values that I look at everything through. And I take those unashamedly from the All Blacks, greatest rugby team, greatest sporting team, some people would say of all time. They're the best of the best of the best. But for them, everything is about humility, excellence, and respect. And I love it. And it just talking about it, I get pumped up. So I love that Lindsey brought that. And I just think everybody should be figuring out, what are my 3? And by the way, even if you don't get asked the question, you can just throw it in. But because that just aligns with my values, which are bang, 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 and just understand how to talk about it. So yeah, I love that.
And I say, do your homework on their values. And if you can create those alignments, spell them out. It's really powerful. And Allison talked about great questions. I coach a lot of interviewees on great questions, and the ones that remember, the ones that resonate, the ones that actually stump them. And I can promise you, if you ask an interview, well, can you tell me, of the core values of the company, which is your favorite?
Oh,
I can promise you, we'll stump most of them.
that's what I'm talking about.
Everybody write that one down. That was a gem. Yeah, because most of them probably don't know. That's amazing.
See, I did my homework. This is my favorite. This is how it aligns with my values. So you're showing, 1, you did your homework, 1, you care, 1, you're striving to succeed. All of these things, they add up and they stand out. And your goal in an interview is to exactly do that, to stand out. A couple other things I wanted to mention, just based on the comments of Allison and Peter's. We talked about Allison enthusiasm. Peter talked about limiting the uncontrollables, right? I don't know how many of you are doing in-person interviews versus remote, but most of my research this year has revolved around unconscious bias, okay, implicit bias. In a world of uncertainty, what does that do to our biases? But also, in the world of remote communication and interaction, how does that impact our implicit biases? How we perceive each other, how we judge each other. The raw truth is it actually increases biases. It makes us harsher judges, harsher critics of each other. And what that means is, in terms of preparation, you guys need to be really nailing down what it is you want to get across, how the message of you that you want them to remember. And by focusing on your values, right, you have your background, you have your experiences, but really what they care about is, what does that mean to how it shapes the person you are now and what you offer them as a company. Okay, so enthusiasm, Allison talked about that. It's a lot harder to get across over the screen. And actually, we worked with a group of consultants that did over 35,000 interviews. And I said, what's the biggest thing people want in meetings? I use Peter's language of meetings. Most important thing they want, number 1, enthusiasm. It's harder to get across the screen. So you really need to be conscious about what often can be unconscious. And with the uncontrollables that Peter talked about, there are way more uncontrollables in the remote environment. So you need to be thinking about testing your remote platforms, practicing. That first 30 seconds of you coming into screen, that sets the first impression. Here's what I can tell you guys about neurological sciences. First impressions set the stage, the foundation for how you perceive that relationship and how they perceive you for the entirety of that relationship. And they're really important. And you have full control over that. So some other things to be thinking about.
Goodness, Dawood, I don't know really how to wrap this up. I have some ideas, but any thoughts for you? Because I feel like mics are just dropping all over the place.
Mics dropping everywhere. I would love to get both Allison and Peter in on some of that. And I just figured that given that we've only got another 6 minutes, I'm going to do I never do this, but I'm just going to beg and plead with our guests. And if you guys can stay, everyone should just let's add another 10 minutes on just to pull this thing out another 10 minutes. I'd love to get Allison and Peter in on this. And I know Lindsey, you were thinking about maybe doing a poll. I don't know whether that's still potentially going to be a possibility or not. It'd be great to just ask everyone where they're at. But David, let's just bolt on 10 minutes. I don't know, Peter, I don't know, Allison, can you stick around for another 10 minutes? Beautiful.
All right, looks like we're in.
Let's do it.
And then the other thing, I just put Lindsey's LinkedIn, I put my LinkedIn. Everybody should be contacting and connecting with everybody in this organization so that people are just getting that social out there. But Dawood, how do you want to do? You want to just go round robin, final thoughts, or should we do some Q&A? What do you think?
We had a poll that I thought Lindsey had, so why don't we just run those two? Let's run the 2 polls. And I know Stu's running the machine behind. So here we go. Okay, Lindsey, you just want to talk us through this?
Yes, so my questions to you all, based on some of the stuff I talked about. 1, are you the first generation in your immediate family to complete higher education? And the second question you see here, are you the first in your immediate family to be pursuing a career in financial services?
Let's do that. Let's just fill that in. It should take literally less than 20 seconds. then let's get the results. And Lindsay, you can just give us a sense of what you see.
And I just
David, you
shout out to Cheeto, Duran, Nagoni, and Palumi, who joined me on Friday. We were going to have you guys on to share, but just because of time, we'll postpone that for now.
roll that to next. Let's roll that to next week. Okay, cool. All right. So have we got anything we can look at here? So okay, here we go.
Okay, so a good chunk, almost 40% yes to pursue higher education. Yes, almost 80% yes, first in the family to pursue a career in financial services.
Wow.
Okay, so really drives home the point. You need to be clear on what's important to you, how you're making decisions for yourself. But as Allison said, probably the most important thing you can be doing is finding some really good mentors to help guide and help you figure out and navigate an environment where you may think you know, but you have no idea, right? The politics, all of this stuff, it is its own beast in the financial services world, right? So getting some guidance, finding mentors to help you navigate that.
Yeah. Lindsay, that was absolutely brilliant. We'd love to bring in Allison and then Peter. So Allison, any reflections on anything that you heard Lindsay sharing?
I thought it was great, Lindsay. I took so much notes here as well, so that's great. Like writing it and everything. I did see in the chat that there was a lot of questions about how to get a mentor. And one of the things that my mom told me when I was trying to find mentors, she's told me that you pay a coach and you earn a mentor. And so I feel like now a lot of times people are like spamming on the internet, like, can you mentor me, mentor me, mentor me? And it's like, you know, right? Like there's a lot of people who are open to it. I'm like, it just depends on who you're going to be speaking to as well. But I think the way that you get mentors is by earning it, and you have to show your value as well, right? When you show up and you're asking for those questions, and it shouldn't just be take, it also needs to be a give relationship as well. So I hope that answers that question that came up in the chat. But Lindsay, I thought that was great. Honestly, I'm going to rewrite a couple of my things today. So
Allison, what do you think about values? How big a deal are they in the thousands of interviews that you've done or in your own life? Where do values fit in?
I mean, like when we were talking about equality and diversity and integrity and growth, like that's the cornerstone. Like when I think of my own career, and I'll tell you guys this story real quick. I worked at one of our largest recruitment agencies in North America. I won't say the name of the company because I don't want to get sued. But when I was working there, I had submitted for a role, a person who had a very obviously ethnic name. I'm just going to say ethnic name. Okay. And I submitted it to my client and they told me, we are not hiring any Indians. That's it. We are at it. And I was like, what? Like, we're not hiring Indians? Are you like what? And in Canada, like that does not fly here at all. We got like zero tolerance. And I went to my company and I told them that I'm like, this is what they said, and we can't service them. We're not allowed legally, we're not allowed to service them. And my boss told me, if you don't like it here, then maybe it's not the place for you to work. I was a top performer in my company, #1 in Canada, #4 in North America, top performer. And that's what they told me when I wouldn't service. And literally I wouldn't do it. And I got fired for my job. And I walked away with my head up high because integrity is something that means something to me, as well as equality and diversity. And my parents didn't leave their hot country for me to come to Canada for me to be part of systematic racism. So that's not going to fly with me. And I put an end to it and I opened my own business. And so those were my values, and they're throughout the cornerstone of my career. And you'll find the same with your career, and it's important to stick with them and to have them. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. I had a breakthrough, so I love that.
Yeah,
Love it. Peter, what say you? How do you translate all of this, and what's top of mind?
I think it's been phenomenal, and Lindsay, you have so much value there, and absolutely. I've hired people. I don't know if this is a common distinction, soft skills and hard skills. Soft skills are all those things that can't be measured, like values, integrity, manners, etc., over and hard skills, things that can be tested and quantified. I personally will hire soft skills over hard skills every single day, because you can teach someone the hard skills. But if somebody, as Darry pointed out, if somebody doesn't have manners, say, do I want to really want to put myself in this situation where I've got to work with you for the next 3 years and you can't even be bothered to be polite? And nah, it's okay, thanks very much. I think the mental question's been kind of answered by people. The only thing I'd say is if you reach out to an individual for mentorship, make sure they have specific, don't waste your time and ask for a mentor that isn't in the area that you need. That would be number one. But also, again, that research, but also a specific ask. Say, this is what I'm looking for from somebody, because it just comes across in the right way. But yeah, my mantra in everything is, if you had to literally build a piece of IKEA furniture, and you threw away the instructions, if you put everything together in a random order and you carried on doing it, eventually you'd get it built. There is just sheer utter tenacity is probably the driving force of my entire career, of just going, no, this is going to happen. And I'm just going to carry on going until it does. And I think when you say peak state, again, it's not really just an interview thing. I'm willing to bet Lindsey, David, Darry, Alison, before we came on this call, all of us went, okay, right, let's make sure, these guys deserve our best. So let's make sure we're bringing everything we can to the situation. It's not just about interviews, it's about everywhere you show up in your life, show up, and bring your best self to the table. So yeah, I'm honored and privileged to be here. And I'm so grateful for the program, because it's needed. And it is a tough time out there right now. I do feel for all of you. This is not a good time to have to do this. It's hard anyway, but it's only hard if you make it hard. You can just get through it.
David.
Where do we go from here? I mean, David, I'd love to just acknowledge what went on here today, because we didn't necessarily plan this all out, and I did know that I had some incredible people coming, but I didn't realize the incredibleness and level of that was going to show up.
Like a tiny desk concert, right?
Just
bring everybody together and they just jam and they make beautiful music.
Yeah, so I would just say, Lindsey, Peter, Alison, you guys have far exceeded what I could have even thought of or hoped for or scripted. And David, I didn't really tell you what was going on in terms of what was going to show up, but I think we've met and exceeded our expectations. And so the three of you, thank you. I don't know what to say. I'm a little overwhelmed. It's pretty powerful what went on here.
Yeah, literally unbelievable. Thanks so much. I mean, we were just catching up at just 2 minutes to 6. How we were going to script this whole thing, and not because we hadn't prepped, we had, but just because once we realized who was going to be on it, we just wanted to put the whole thing together in a beautiful way, which I think it definitely did. And so hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, you can really feel that the future is yours. You have major potential. The whole, the fact that you are sitting here listening at 25 to 8, and you've got exams, you've got work to do, but you're here and you're listening, shows that you're serious, shows you have intent, shows you have a sense of purpose. The values that you put in were just phenomenal. And you could have, any of those are great values, but just choose the ones that mean the most to you. And look, our hearts are that you guys will all go to the very top of your careers, that 10, 15 years from now, you guys are running the show. We would love to see that. So, if there's anything that we can do to help further, just reach out. We're going to keep running these, by the way. We have a whole bunch of stuff lined up. Between now and next July, we have a ton more of this stuff to come. So it's gold dust. I want to say again, thank you so much to Alison. Thank you to Lindsey. Thank you to Peter. You guys are busy. You've got a ton of other stuff. I know you guys have spent all day doing stuff. You've got other stuff to be doing, but you're here. You've shown up. David, I really want to thank you, man. It means so much, because every week you're here. Every week you deliver. You show up and do this stuff. And it means a lot. Thank you to Templar as well. Big shout out to you guys and to your firm. I know Lindsey, you're there as well. So really appreciate it. We're going to put some stuff out on LinkedIn. We're bound to over the next hour or two, maybe even tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you liked it and you want to tell everyone how great it is so other people can come and get involved, please do write some cool stuff, and maybe even tweet it as well, whatever. Just do that social media thing that Peter's been talking about. But anyway, got to love and leave you all. Have a great evening, rest of the day, wherever you are in the world. Thank you all. Take care. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.